Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how to alter the skirt waistband and back yoke in case your waist measurement does not match up with your hip measurement for the Sandbridge pattern. So the first thing you want to do is get the pattern to fit your hip perfectly. And then this is what you're going to do if the waist is then correspondingly too small or too big. If the waistband is too big, it means you have more of an hourglass shape than the pattern is drafted for. And if your waistband is too small, then you have more of an athletic build or kind of a straight up and down build. So those are common issues that women have. So let's get to it. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make the waistband smaller in case it is gaping on you. I'm going to be using a 2-inch adjustment in this video. Obviously you should use the one that you need, but 2 inches, what I mean by that is basically when you hold the skirt by the center back and pinch it together where it's gaping, there's 2 inches of extra waistband there. So after you've made your muslin and determined how much extra there is, write that number down. So for us it's 2 inches, and because we're dealing with half of the back here for our adjustments, then we're going to divide that by half, obviously, so that's 1 inch. So we're going to be removing 1 inch from the waistline, which is this line up here. The main goal in this is because your hip fits perfectly, this is the seam line here that matches with the top of the skirt, and we do not want to adjust that at all. So we're going to keep this line the same and make this one smaller. So the first thing that we need to do is mark seam allowances, because we don't want to work on the seam allowances, we want to work on the edge of fabric. Seam allowance for this pattern is a 1/2 inch. So let's just mark the 1/2 inch points on patterns. And I'm just using the grid on my really messed up cutting board here as a guide. This can be, you want to get it as accurate as possible, but don't stress about it. And then you just want to match them up on the side seam over there and put a tiny amount of tape to tape them together, and then match them up over here. And these are going to not match up as well because when you sew them, obviously they're going to kind of go like that. But just try to align the two markings there as well as possible. This one is smaller because it's on the fold, and this one has a seam allowance here. And the same thing, just tape it there. And then to kind of secure the two, you're going to want to add one tiny little piece of tape about in the middle. Now we're going to distribute the inch so that we're not affecting the pattern too greatly in just one spot. So to do that, we're going to basically be making darts in the pattern, and we're going to make kind of a dart between each tape that we put down. So just kind of, it's fairly arbitrary, but between the two, tape points, this one's going to be difficult because it has tape on it already, kind of mark 2 dart areas. And then because we're removing 1 inch total, we're going to be removing a 1/2 inch from each side. So to remove a 1/2 inch, we're going to mark a 1/4 inch on each side of the line. One there and one there. Okay. So everyone got the math? Now take your scissors, or I have a special rotary cutter that I use just for fabric. It makes it much easier to cut out patterns. And then you just cut down the mark that you made for the dart. And you want to cut all the way through the waistband and a little bit of the ways, maybe about halfway through the yoke, but of course not all the way to the bottom because that needs to stay the same. And then it's really easy. You just overlap until the 2 markings on either side align. So because those were a 1/4 inch on either side, we've now removed a 1/2 inch right there, and I've taped it together, and a 1/2 inch, from here, taping it together. And then down here, you just want to make sure that, see, my tape came apart, so let's retape that real quick before we adjust that side. You just want to make sure that these darts in the yoke are not folding all the way through to the edge. So I'm just going to kind of press them down like that, force them to match up. They won't be as deep, of course, because this is the bottom of your dart effectively. And then when that is nice and flat, then you want to very carefully remove the waistband from the yoke in those 3 taped areas. And then, before stuff shifts too much, just tape the top of those darts right there. So this is your new back yoke pattern, and you can basically just use this to cut your fabric because it hasn't changed too much. As you can see, we have a more abrupt curve here. It goes up quicker than before it kind of came that way. So in effect, this top curve is now smaller than it was, and of course this is the same, so you can be assured that it will still match up with your skirt. And for the waistband piece, you might want to trace that onto new paper because it's got tape all around it and it's kind of all messed up. So just lay that over a new piece. It might even be helpful to lay the fold line there against a straight edge if you can, and then, you know, just trace around it and then write down the markings so that you don't forget. And also, I would always recommend writing down the alterations that you've made so that you'll remember what they are. So that is making the waistband smaller. Now the top of the back circumference is 1 inch smaller on this side and 1 inch smaller when you cut it on the fold, for a total loss of 2 inches.